Now it's time to get your portfolio queries answered, and for that I have Hemant Rustagi from Wise Invest. Hemant, good evening and welcome to the show. And quickly, let's move on to our viewers as well. And I will take Bhavika's question first. I think you have the question on you, and she is writing this via email. She's from Bhopal, and she says that she wants to build a long-term portfolio for retirement, and she wants to do a monthly investment of 40 to 50,000. Currently, she has some SIPs going on. Mira Asset Large and Mid Cap. She has PGIM India Mid Cap Opportunity, HDFC Flexi Cap, SBI Large and Mid Cap, SBI Small Cap, Axis Small Cap. In total, she's investing around 42,000 right now, and she wants to increase her SIP more by 10,000. So she wants you to do a quick fund check and whether she'll be able to, stick to this portfolio for her retirement purpose.
Yes, Kavita, I think the way she has mentioned clearly that she's trying to build a corpus for the retirement, which obviously is a very long-term goal, and then investing in equity fund through SIP is perfect strategy for that. If you look at the current investment of 42,000, there are 6 funds in the portfolio. I think broadly, I would say the categories are fine, but I think there is definitely some change required in terms of selection of funds. There is a larger mid-cap category, which I think is a wonderful category for any long-term investor to have in the portfolio. There are 2 funds in this category, Mirae Asset Large and Mid and SBI Large and Mid. Like I said, the category is great, but I think there are better funds than this. In total, her investment in these 2 is 10,000. So my recommendation would be to include HDFC Large and Mid instead of these 2 funds and invest 10,000 there. Then there are 2 small cap funds, whereas Axis Small Cap Fund and there is SBI Small Cap Fund. In all, she's investing 15,000. So I think there are 2 important things here. One is she needs to reduce her exposure to small cap to 10,000. And I think, again, I would say that there are better funds than these 2 in this category. She could consider either Quant, a small cap fund, or Nippon India small cap fund and invest 10,000 in there. So there will be 5,000 to be reallocated out of this 15,000. And since she's intending to invest 10,000 additional amount, so this 15,000, 5 in this 10, can be invested in a multi-cap fund, because one category which is missing from the portfolio is multi-cap. She can consider Kotak multi-cap for that. In the mid-cap category, again, I think a great category for a long-term investor, but the fund which is chosen, I think PGIM mid-cap fund, there are better funds here like Motilal Oswal or maybe HDFC mid-cap. She could consider one of these. So a few changes in the portfolio, like I said, one addition of multi-cap category.
All right, let's move on and let's take Harshit's question, and very interesting question. Harshit writes his question from Pune, and he says that he wants to invest 60 lakhs in a balanced advantage fund, and he wants to do it via an SIP or and use this amount for SWP also. So we don't have him on the phone line. Otherwise, I really wanted to explore his choice of a balanced advantage fund. Maybe the time horizon is not very long, maybe 3 to 5 years. But then what kind of investor should be parking their money in a balanced advantage fund? And obviously, what should Harshit do with the 60 lakh? And if he's doing an STP, when should he be doing an SWP also?
Well, Kavita, my belief is that a balanced advantage fund is a great category for 2 kinds of investor. Someone who doesn't have a long-term horizon, which is good enough for investing in equity. For example, usually what we say is if you're investing in equity, at least have 8-10 years time horizon for investing in equity. In the balanced advantage, suppose your time horizon is, let's say, around 5 or 6 years, or maybe even less, maybe 4 or 5 years. This is a great time horizon to invest in balanced advantage fund, because one, it has a restricted exposure to equity. Then there is also arbitrage and debt in that. And the best thing is that while there is a restricted equity exposure, they enjoy the tax benefit of equity fund, which means that you're paying only 10% capital gain if you redeem your units after 10 for 1 year. So I think it's a great for someone who doesn't have too much longer time horizon. And the second is, if as an investor, if you do not want very aggressive exposure to equity, there again, I think balanced advantage fund is definitely a great category to have in the portfolio. If the intent is to do SWP, usually allow this money to grow at least by 1 year, so that the capital gain that you're going to kind of take out from while doing SWP becomes a long-term capital gain. Thereafter, again, you need to restrict it to 5 to 6%. I mean, if you take out money aggressively, at some point in time, you'll start eating into your capital. So I think you need to be careful. Like I said, it should suit your time horizon and also your risk profile.
Wonderful. Let's move to Akshit's question now. And Akshit says that he's 60 years old. He's been investing 10,000 in the following funds: Kotak Emerging Equity, Barak Parekh Flexi Cap, HDFC Balance Advantage, SBI Contra, SBI Dividend Yield, Nippon India Small Cap. And he wants to stay invested for 10 years, and the kind of return expectation is 12%. Is it quite decent to expect 12% for 10 years time horizon out of these funds, Hemant?
No, I think, Kavita, if you're majorly investing into equity fund and if you're investing systematically, investing for a time horizon of 10 years, I think 12% annualized return, average return, I would say, obviously, is I think a fairest expectation. It's quite achievable. So if he continues this process for 10 years, I think he can accumulate a corpus of around 23 lakhs. In terms of funds, I would recommend maybe a couple of changes here. One, there is a balanced advantage fund. We just talked about it's a great fund, but not for someone who's investing for 10 years. Then there is a dividend yield fund. So I would recommend that he can stop SIP in these two. And there are two existing funds where he can add this. One is Kotak Emerging, which is a mid-cap fund, and then there is Barak Parekh Flexi Cap, which is, as the name suggests, is a flexi cap fund, and also invest around 17-18% in the US market. So I think two SIPs and this amount added to these two existing funds.
Also, Hemant, Akshit is 60 years old. Do you also want to recommend him to look at his risk profile and do that risk profiling exercise so that he knows what risk he's taking by staying invested in equity?
Well, I think ideally that should be the way it should be done, Kavita. I fully agree with you. But considering the fact that he's investing through SIP, he's very clear in terms of time horizon and is not investing a very big amount there. It's SIP of 10,000. So I'm assuming that he's considered all these factors, and I'm also considering the fact that I'm assuming that again is that it's not a very large portfolio, that large portion of his entire portfolio.
Let's move on, and last question for the day. I will take Mayur's question via email, and Mayur is from Kochi. He's writing from Kochi. He has Axis Blue Chip, investing 2,000 rupees, HSBC Value Fund, again 2,000 in SIP, HDFC Mid Cap, 3,000 SIP, Rebeco Emerging Equity, 2,000 SIP, DSP Mid Cap, 2,500, SBI Mid Cap, 1,000, Nippon Small Cap, 5,000, SBI Small Cap, 5,000, Nippon India Multi Cap, 1,500. And he wants to know if there are any changes required. He's been investing since 2015, and he says he's a long-term investor. I don't have the number of how long he wants to be in this portfolio or stay invested, but yeah, your comments.
Well, I think, Kavita, I think the key factor here is how much time he has from here on, because that is something that you need to consider, since he has clarified that he is still a long-term investor, even though he has been investing in these funds since 2015. So I think we can continue maybe with the equity funds. There are 9 funds in the portfolio. He's investing around 24,000 through SIP. So clearly, I think there is a scope to consolidate the portfolio, and I think that is what he should aim to do that. There are 2 small cap funds here. One is Nippon, and the other one is SPS Small Cap. It's investing 10,000. My recommendation would be to reduce the exposure to small cap to 5,000 and keep only Nippon India Small Cap in the portfolio. So there will be this 5,000 to be invested. He has another fund, Axis Blue Chip. I think if he's looking at investing in a large cap fund, Nippon India large cap, I think is a much better option. And he has 2,000 invested in Axis Blue Chip. So this 5,000 from the small cap and the 2,000 which is invested in Axis Blue Chip can be invested in Nippon India, a large cap fund. In the mid cap category, there are 3 funds: HDFC Mid Cap, there is a TSP Mid Cap, and SBI Mid Cap. The total investment is 6,500. I'm fine with the amount that has been allocated to this segment, but I think he need not really have 3 funds here. He can just look at one fund, which is HDFC Mid Cap Opportunity. Then I think there is Canada Rebeco Emerging, where he's investing 2,000, and there is also Nippon India Multi Cap. So my recommendation would be to keep only one fund, which is Nippon India Multi Cap Fund. So overall investment can be 3,500, and the value fund is fine. So I think quite a few changes in the portfolio needs to consolidate to get better results.
All right, and with that, it's time up on the show today as well. Thank you so much, Hemant, for being on the show and helping our viewers with their financial portfolio queries. And before signing off, I'm going to leave our viewers with our WhatsApp number and email ID, where we keep waiting for your questions so that you can do your life financial planning with our experts on the show. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.